Everyone, trust you all are doing well. So we finished up in a previous lesson for us to be able to follow and unfollow a user. All right, so what we want to do in this one, we want to create an event that fires off when the person is being followed, when they create a thread, so to notify all the followers about the new thread that's created. Okay, so let's get started. Right, I've coded most of the work already, so otherwise it will be really too long of a lesson, and most of the things we already covered actually. We're just going to duplicate more or less the work. All right, but I will go through the process. So if you want to pause, you can copy, but I will explain things as we go along. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to go to our app, trades, go to our HasFollows trade. Now the first thing that I want to do, I want to create a followers trade. Okay, so basically if the person is following, I want to be able to query who follows that user. All right, so basically what we're doing in that one is we create basically an inverse. All right, let me just add the B there. We're creating basically an inverse of the belongs to many relationship. All right, so the follows one is in order for us to query who is following, able for us to follow a user. Now the inverse of that is the follower. We just basically change the user ID and the following ID. Those two, we just basically interchange them. So we're doing inverse of that follower relation. So with the followers right there, I'm just querying it like this. All right, like this, like there. Okay, so we create two extra methods inside our HasFollows trade. Let me just bring them actually close together. Move it a bit down. All right. In order to query the inverse, what we do is we create a follower relation belongs to many. We go to that same user class, same new follows table, but the thing is, the following user ID, you put that first and the user ID second. All right. So then we query that relationship with timestamps as follows. Okay, and then we obviously, when we call in the followers thread, it will, and the method right here, we will call on that relation. Okay, so just copy this. You will see how this actually works. All right. Now, the next thing that we want to do is we need to go to our jobs. We create a thread job, this one right here. All right, so we create a new event. Okay, a thread was created event. Okay, so let's create that event quickly. Right, you guys remember when we create a reply, we actually create the event as well for our reply was created. You just create a new event, PHP artisan make event, like this, and you can call it thread was created event. Okay, so then you press enter. Obviously, I've already created it. Just do that. Okay, so then in that event, you're just going to create event, new event, then you bring in that event that you just created and you pass the thread that you created as a variable right there. And just make sure you import it at the top right here. Make sure it's included right there. Okay. So now the next thing is let's go to that event. Right. Then basically what you do is you create a public variable for that thread, and you just add it in your construct method and you pass it. This dot thread is equal to that thread. The same thing that we did with the reply. Okay, so that's why I don't need to create it again, because we all previously have already created the same thing. Otherwise, I'm just repeating myself. All right, so the next thing is we need to create the listener for that event. Okay, so I've just created a new listener. So let's open up our terminal. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to create a listener. Okay, and then you're going to call it send new thread notification. Okay, so after you've done that, all right, you go to that notification. You're going to create a public function, the handle method, just the handle method right there. You bring in that event that you created. All right, like this. All right, you make sure you bring it in. You pass the event parameter. Then you actually set the author. You bring in that event. You get the thread, and you get the author of that thread. Okay. Then for each of that author's followers, just remember when we created that thread, let me just go to HasFollows thread. You see, I'm calling on this followers method that we created in that thread, it HasFollows thread right there. Okay, so I'm calling that author's followers, and then for each of the followers, I will notify them with a new thread notification. All right, so we obviously haven't created this notification yet, but just bear with me. Before we do create that notification, we just go to our app. You just go to our app, you go to your providers, you go to your EventServiceProvider. All right, you need to register that event right there. Okay, so when a thread was created, it needs to send that thread notification. The listener that we just created right here. Let me just go there again. You see this listener right here? That's the one that we in our providers. Let's go there again. That's the one that we need to send right there. Just make sure, otherwise the event won't fire off and the listener won't fire. We need to register that listener right here. Okay? So after you've done that, let's go and create that notification. Okay. So now after our listener, we're going to notify that user with a new thread notification. So let's quickly create that notification. Open up your terminal and you're going to say make notification, and you're going to call that new thread notification, like that. Okay, and you press enter. Now we got a new thread notification. So after that is done, so let's go to that new thread notification. All right, so then you create something like this. All right, we're only going to send an email. So we create a public function for the thread to receive the thread, because we're going to pass that thread as a parameter right here. All right, so we're passing it right here. So the thread notification is going to receive them. Okay, so then we bring in our thread model. Okay, just make sure you import it at the top. This. All right, and then you set this thread, okay, to that thread right there. Okay, then we're going to create a public function via, and we are not, because remember before this it's probably going to be database or something else. I'm not quite sure now, but just make sure it returns the mail right there. Okay, then we're going to create a public function to mail, and then we bring in the user right there. Okay, then we return and we create a new thread email. All right, so we're going to create that now in a second, but I just want you to finish this up. We can actually delete this one here. All right, then we return a new thread email. Then we send this thread basically as a parameter in that new email. Then we send it to the user's email address and to the user name right there. But remember, the user we're going to get from, show you right here. So we get the follower right here. We're getting that user being notified right there. Okay, so we're getting that user that's going to be received right here, and then we send it to that user. Okay, so let's create the email. So let's just open up your terminal again, and you're going to create mail like this, and then you're going to call that, let's go to our mail again, new thread email. So new thread email like that. Okay, you press enter, and obviously you created mail. So let's go to that thread email. So in there we're going to receive that thread as a public variable. As you can see, we're passing it in here. All right, then we receive it on this side. We obviously add the construct like that. Then but this is our build method. It's actually when we create the email. So let me just, but anyway, let's leave it like that. Then we return the subject regarding the thread title. So we pass the thread title, and we pass the markdown emails new thread. So let's go to that view. Close that. So under resources, views, we will create an emails, and you will see you create that new thread.blade.php. Now, everything in your new reply, just copy all of that, okay? then you go into your thread and just paste it in there. Okay, but then you change, obviously the replies needs to be threads now. Because you're going to pass the thread variable. Now thread.author.name has created a new thread, and obviously just an excerpt of that. You can change it to whatever, how many you want to be. All right, then we're still going to go to that same URL, but we're just going to change the category to be the thread category slug, and the thread obviously to be the thread slug. That's all you're going to do. All right, just copy them all over here, pause the video right here, and just make sure everything is the same. Okay. So after all of that, otherwise the video would be too long if I have to do all of this from scratch. Okay, so I don't need to, so you guys can just pause the video and just copy them over. Okay. All right, so I'm just quickly going to go over it again. Not from the top part. I'm just going to kind of explain what I've done. I created the followers like this. All right, and it's going to be the inverse basically of the following ID and the user ID with the timestamps. And after that, I go to my job. Okay, create the thread, then I just add the event when a job is created, then I fire off that event, then I listen for that event. Okay, then after that I go to the providers and make sure I register that listener in our event service provider right there. Okay, so after that I create the new thread notification, then after that I create a new email, and let's send it to the user. Okay, anyways, let's see if it works. Let me go to the browser and actually create a thread and see if we get a notification. Right, so as you can see, John Doe right here. What I want to do is I just want to see if we actually go to one of his threads. I just want to underneath show who is following John Doe. So let me quickly do that. So basically what I've done is I just get the thread, then I get the author, then I get his followers. Okay. Remember, the followers come from our HasFollows trade, which call on the followers relation, which is that right there. Okay, let me just make this so you guys can easily see the difference between the follows and the followers. Okay, it's the same thing. The user ID and the following ID is just swapped around. We're using the same table right there. But anyways, let me show you. So as you can see, it returns actually Maya as the person that is actually following John Doe. Right. So if there's more users, obviously there will be a lot of different users' name and things like that. But anyways, let me just delete it for now and actually just let John Doe create a thread and see if we notify Maya. Right, so let's start a new discussion, a new thread. Okay, so just do events, Laravel, this. Right, the thread is being created. Obviously, if you do this, you need to use the queue worker in order to let the emails be sent in the background, but I'm not doing that at the moment. But you can do that. You just implement should queue, and then you queue the job. All right. So let me go to my mail program and see if Maya gets an email. As you can see, we got an email received right here to Maya, a new thread. If you guys see, this is the title of the thread. Okay, so we're getting that email, and the email is sent to Maya. Now, as you can see, if we look at the email right here, you can see John Doe has created a new thread, and this is a new thread, obviously. And if we click the button right there, we need to be able to go to that thread. So as you can see, we go to the thread that was created. All right, so now we can be able to notify the followers if there's an email that's created. Okay. All right, so that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and if you liked the video, please give it a like. If you don't, please give it a dislike. And if you have any questions regarding what I've just done, please let me know. then I will be able to see if I can post all the individual steps for you. Okay. And please, if you have any positive or negative feedback, would really appreciate it. And thank you guys, and see you in the next one. Adios.